Hey everyone, welcome back. A bit of a happy New Year's or pre or post New Year's to everyone, depending on when this video gets released. So over the last little bit, been out of town here there for the holidays, so haven't really been doing a huge amount. Of course, got a few projects in the works. I like to get a video out, so not sure when everything's going to get sort itself out, but do have something interesting to take a look at. Now, while I was out and about, went to an antique store, took a look around, found a couple model kits. Didn't buy a crazy amount as they were fairly common kits that didn't really need right away. Though did pick up this unique one. It's a 128 scaled Porsche 936 78 Turbo race car. So this one by the company Nitto, which I haven't heard before. So typically don't usually go for European stuff at all. So figured, you know what, go. This seemed interesting as this is a 128th scale kit, not your typical 32nd or 24th scale kit. It also mentioned that it is a motorized kit, so it will have some play features to it, which I'm curious to see how that works. And I believe this was manufactured sometime in the mid to late 70s, possibly into the 80s. Though of course there's not a huge amount of information about it. Now, I haven't done I probably should do some research, see what the manufacturing data is eventually. So, here's a couple other cars that were available at the time. Like the Tommaso Pantera, that would be a really nice one to have gotten, but probably very few far between. Got the Caprice Racing, multiple different Lamborghinis, some Ferraris, and a bunch of unique stuff here and there. So this originally was shrink wrapped, but figured something too unique, might as well look into it. Do have some. So getting into here, do have the body, which is molded in white, which I'll likely be leaving as is, as it does seem quite there is a few mold lines, but it's not really enough to feel like it's necessary to repaint. So pretty much that of the pretty much like a Le Mans style race car, just with the body style and just overall how it is. Then got couple bags of parts, like you got what seems to be a couple miscellaneous parts as mixed material. So opening this up, do have the full set of tires, which are some really nicely done up race slicks. Do have does look like they have been lightly used. Got a little bit of tackiness. Of course, got your full set. Good tube of gear oil and grease for the gears themselves, which 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 are nicely molded in plastic, and then with the metal rod going through. And got a couple metal connecting tabs and some other prongs. Let's get these out. I haven't built a motorized kit in a while, or if at all, to say the least. So I am curious to see how this will go together. As something like this, there used to be some. I feel like there used to be a bunch of kits like these available at one point, but it does feel like you don't really see something like this all that often. So just having something a bit different and unique seems seems quite exciting, as having something a bit different and unique does add to the cool factor. So getting on to some more plastic parts. We do have a parts tree consisting of what looks to be the suspension, steering, and some smaller components of the interior. As we got the driver's seat with blank insert for what would be a passenger seat, separate molded dashboard, exhaust system, couple mirrors, steering wheel. Yes, typical, pretty much your not pretty much your basic exterior parts. Then we have the likes here of the chassis, which pretty much is all just one big piece. Pretty much right here would be where the motors would be built up in. So they do give you a bit of space, and then of course your battery tray and stuff. Fairly basic is pretty much what to expect. Might just take like some silver paint, just scuff up the underside to make it look like it's been raced a couple times. Then finishing up with the black plastic, got the racing turbine wheels, which are quite nicely detailed. Nothing too crazy, but these will definitely end up having to get painted up for sure. Of course, do have differences between the short or the narrow and wider tires. And pretty much like most of these Japanese kits, they have a rubber bushing that goes inside so that the wheels can free turn. So pretty nice. Then of course you got the last of the white parts. So we got the air induction, which is a separate molded piece up here, which pretty much I'm guessing to get this properly painted, it'll be a case of mask everything off and just get a fine paintbrush, do inside the vents. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Then a rear body panel, and possibly for the interior is what I'm guessing this piece is for, but not totally sure. And of course, do have the race car driver, which not exactly sure who the driver is supposed to be represented here. But seeing there is a driver, might be a shame not to use the guy. So pretty much when everything gets put together, this will be one of the final things to finish up on. This looks good. And of course we got your basic cell motor, pretty much to power everything. Nothing too crazy about it. So that's pretty much that for the main parts. And then a few other things, like we got water slide decals, which I am curious to see how these fare, as given the age of the kit, they should theoretically just slide on just fine, as I'm not seeing any wrinkles in the paper itself. So looking forward to see if these actually work. Then you got the instructions, which is just a single piece of paper, which printed on double side, which is not too bad. Prevents you from having to rush, constantly trying to flip pages and then fold everything over. Now, of course, because everything here is in Japanese, it's a little bit difficult to understand, but given the picture diagrams, I don't see it being too much of a difficulty getting everything together. So currently looking forward to it. And finally, got a poster of all the other kits available at the time, which there's quite a selection too. So yeah, that's pretty much a little bit of a look through. Get some stuff put together here and observe, and then eventually get things painted and see how everything goes. So now pretty much got a bunch of stuff worked together and put on and worked out. So for the chassis here, pretty much got the pretty much the full steering setup all put together, which does have a friction tab where you can lock the steering into position. But you don't have a crazy amount of steering, but you do have some. So like you have sharp turn, narrower, and then straight on, and then of course having that back side to side. Then went ahead, got the motor and wiring installed. Now originally with the black tubing, I was just thinking that's just like some cable to protect everything, but turns out there's the wire mounted inside of it. So pretty much strip the wire back from the tubing, pretty much twist the wires together, get everything to work. So pretty much worked out of it, and then pretty much gave it a bit of a test to see if it works. Now there was a few things on it where I had to redo some of the wiring to hopefully get a better connection, which luckily I was able to get figured out, and it's a little bit loud as I still need to get some wheel grease, but the motorized system does work, and it does go at a pretty decent speed for what the car is. Yeah, so pretty much, so that's pretty much turned out really nicely. Then went ahead, detailed up some of the body, like got the air vent painted up, then the headlight buckets and lower grille. Now on the real car there is supposed to be a glass lens that goes over top, but given that this is a smaller kit with not a huge amount to it, not too surprising that there wasn't any glass or window pieces provided in the kit. But overall, it's turning so far looking pretty good. Now, did go ahead and research some things about the car, and this was more, and did turn out that this chassis style of car was first introduced in '76, and this part of the Group 6 prototype race car series, and which the chassis or the car chassis came in first at Le Mans in 76, 77, then again in 81. So the 78 chassis, which is this car here, did not come in first place on the race, but still made podium position. Quite interesting, which was quite nice to see. So, overall, everything's coming along quite nicely. Like got the supports for the rear wing installed. Got those painted up in a close matching color to the rest of the body. Still need to have this masked off so I could paint this in a matching red for the rest of the accents, and then it'll pretty much just be a case of putting on the decals, which I haven't tested yet, so looking forward to seeing how that goes, if they're actually still usable, which I'd imagine they should. And then got the full sets of wheels and tires put together. Maybe have to go ahead and do a little bit of detailing inside the hub for the wheel nut, and possibly inside the turbines. So that's pretty much those, and then got the wing painted up in a similar red. So did cut this loose from the tree and had a piece of sprue to support it up to get the underside and top edges painted, which turned out quite nicely. There's a little bit of ghosting in the black, but nothing too crazy. So that'll pretty much go on like so. And a few other small detailed parts, like got the headlights, mirrors, exhaust system, and dashboard all painted up. Pretty much to get this all together or painted up, pretty much was leaving everything in the black molded color, and then take your likes of silver paint and stuff, plus for some small stuff, a silver marker. Pretty much gets into fine details really nicely without making too much of a mess. Then pretty much mask off other areas that I don't want the odd color to not be. Yeah, so overall everything's coming along quite nicely. And shortly here should be able to get everything put together, do the final detail work, and see, yes, just pretty much see everything come together, and of course final thoughts on everything. As you saw with the little snippet there, that now goes to show that I've got the car all pretty much all finished now. So overall went together pretty good. A little bit the trouble was getting for the body to clip in with the tabs. They're a little bit, it's a little bit stiff to get everything put fully together. And then the decals, they went on fine, though with the curvature of the body, they don't exactly lay flat, and did need a little bit of trimming to get right. So there's a few things about it that were a little bit complicated, but nothing too overly crazy. So overall, the car went together quite nicely. I just of course, just left the body the basic molded plastic. But I did find that you do want, for pretty much something like this, you want to use your decal setting solution, as there was a couple times some of these stickers would be properly installed, but they'd end up peeling off really badly. Like got this one right here, which looks okay, but it's not exactly smooth setting. Then this one here decided to crumple up. So it's a little bit, so decals were a little bit problematic to some extent, but nothing too overly crazy. And before I shot the last little segment there, did have to adjust the rear axle as it was rubbing up against the body, which would stop the car from actually moving entirely. So pretty much adjusted the rear axle, and the hub bushings. So overall now the car pretty much rolls freely under its own power. Though of course probably have it set to the steering position so that you can easily catch it in a short time frame if needed. Now, of course, do have the driver here, which didn't think about or thought about painting up, but figured just get this out sooner rather than later. Pretty much get at least the majority of the car done. Then eventually paint up the figurine separately. So that's pretty much that. And overall, decent looking kit. And then, of course, being 1/28th scale, it's an interesting middle ground between your standard 24/25 and your much smaller 32nd scale kit. So it's an interesting little mini ground. So you got a decent amount of detail, nothing crazy, but yet you still have a good sized model to display on pretty much on any shelf, whether it's vintage race cars or pretty much anything European related. So yeah, so that's pretty much that, and that'll pretty much be it for this video. Now should be having looking at getting a few more videos out in the new year, and yeah, let's just see how things go. So, and that being said, that'll be it for this video, and see you next time.